Hey, 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 welcome to the Virgo Channel. My name is Laura. If you're new to the channel, I'm going to do a general message. And I promised a few people that I would be on, people that were in my coaching program that I missed today because I don't know, there was some weird thing with Zoom, but I am not as grounded as I should be because that's what happens when you go through emotional situations. So, for those of you that are new to my channel, I like to look at the spiritual blocks, the shadows, and see how they play out as karmic themes within your experience. It's not just about yes or no, it's about understanding why you attract what you attract so that you can integrate the spiritual lesson so that you can actually transmute the negative energy. I forgot to change my green screen, so I hope that you guys don't mind it. But I've been running back and forth. My husband's health is really bad. Like, is expected to not make it soon, so I've been running back and forth. He's in hospice, for those of you that don't know. And it's a very emotional time, which makes, it difficult to ground. So we know that, not just when someone dies, but also when, like, we're connected to a soulmate, right? Or when we go after a job, or when we are trying to like achieve something. We always know when there's negative energy that needs to be transmuted, right? We always know because we can see by what manifests. It's what makes us feel that there's something wrong with us. And then we compensate by incorporating behaviorisms that were based on core beliefs that wind up sabotaging us later on, keeping us stuck in a karmic cycle of limitation. So I believe, again, there's many different realities that play out at one time. Your level of consciousness depends on what you do. So if you know what you're dealing with and why you're dealing with what you're dealing with, you're able to maybe, whether it's shape shift the hey Shala, I am so sorry about today. Oh my God. Thank you so much. I'm so glad that you're here. Shala was one of the people that I said that I would read for because I like flaked out. So, but you're probably, thank you so much. Well, you're probably Virgo Vixen. I like that. You probably resonate, that's how energy works, right? You're a magnet of who and what is supposed to come into your life at the time. Just sometimes we're like, well, what the fuck? What's that looks like? And why did I attract that horrible energy? We associate that with karmic mates. We associate that with, again, these experiences that play out that keep us stuck in a place of limitation, disempowerment. And again, that's what makes us feel separate from the unconditional love, the shadows. So that's why the answer is never just yes or no, the person's coming back. Because the person may come back, but if they're going to do the same thing and you're going to do the same thing, then you're in a relationship that's on, it's off, it's on, it's off. And then you're trying to control the relationship because you can't help it, because they're triggering you from an emotional standpoint. So this is what creates the karmic loop. So it's integrating. Hey, Myra, I hope that I was just explaining, I did a Zoom for our coaching program, and I thought that I put it for 7 o'clock, and then someone said that I put it for 7:15. So I'm sitting there until 7, I guess 15. Literally, I took a screenshot and I was like, okay, I guess no one's showing up. And I did a video for my other channel. So I'm, like I said, all over the place right now. I know, again, balance. You guys are going to get good readings though, because again, when you're not in your body, you're more, again, tapped into the psychic realms. However, the problem is that we're in physical form. You wouldn't want to follow me around all day. I give good advice, but you don't want to follow my life. Again, as a master psychic healer, I learned the art of healing through healing myself. You too can heal yourself. It's all about integrating the spiritual blocks. Let's see what the underlying energy is. Fear. This is bad energy. And I'm going to tell you why. Because it's related to ancestral karma. It's related to, again, a disconnect to the physical body. And then what winds up happening is relationships, obviously, are difficult. Even finding your soul's path seems difficult. Everything's difficult because you inherited habits and behaviorisms from your parents that you're unconscious of. So fear is again survival. So when we live in survival, we're living in the future or we're stuck in the past. So we either have anxiety or depression, and that's going to create problems in relationships because we're not strong within ourselves. We're not balanced. So again, I feel like you're connected to someone that has this energy, and you too have this energy. It just may not be as prominent, meaning you're not all shady. People that, again, fear, there's this energy why you might say, wow, why do I attract people that are shady? I'm not shady. They say you're a mirror of who and what comes into your life. I'm not an asshole. That person was clearly an asshole. I'm not an asshole. Why? And Spirit says there's only two energies, love and fear. So fear, it means low, bad character a lot of times, because when we come from a place of fear, we're coming from a place of survival. So again, if we stay long periods of time within this energy, we wind up, it depletes our energy. We actually feel tired. And the reason why is because it's connected to that first chakra, the adrenals, right? So again, fight, flight, freeze. So when you're connected to someone that gets triggered all the time, it's because they feel inadequate about themselves. When you're born into families, then, hey, yes, I also am on the Scorpio channel. I'm everywhere. I'm ubiquitous. No, I'm only kidding. I mean, everyone needs healing. This is a particular channel. You want to know why your person does what they do. You want to know how to shape shift your energy. What you're saying is, I am the creator of my universe. That's what you're saying. I am. And see, when you come from that consciousness, you're coming from a Christ consciousness, and you can actually create your heaven on earth. And you create your heaven on earth by integrating your spiritual blocks. You transcend the limitations of your mind. This is what transpersonal psychology is, which is spiritual psychology. When you integrate these spiritual laws into your life, you actually can shape shift your life. You're actually changing the matrix. Yes, you have the power. The name of the channel of the Scorpio channel is pretty much just the Scorpio channel. Like everything is done the same exact way. It's like, because there's only one me, and that one me is authentic, but there's only one me. So the style is, my unique individuality, but there is only one style. There's, maybe we're born to, again, incorporate different styles as we go along, our unfoldment process. So everything is pretty much the Virgo channel, the Scorpio channel, everything's the same. And possibly because I also lived from a place of fear, which is survival, which is I like to play it safe. If it works, why fix it? Problem is, it's like, then you get bored. Ships in the harbor are nice, but that's not what we're made for. That's how you know a person has a second chakra imbalance. A person has a second chakra imbalance, they have problems in their relationships. They have a problem going with the flow. And so they try and find their balance, and they either give too much or don't give enough. So you're connected to, again, someone that has a root chakra imbalance, which means all the chakras are in balance. And that means that you're dealing with a person that doesn't know when they're living from their emotions or their intuition. Doesn't really believe in their intuition because they're always in the reptilian mind, the survival mind, which it means like, how can I benefit from you? It's like, how can I control you? It's again, they associate love with ownership. And in that, they have to feel more superior. This is the negative shadow energy. So I feel like, again, there was a lot of disappointment on your end because you're like, okay, then why was there a spiritual connection? It's again, why? What the hell would I need to be taught within that scenario? And you guys could also feel free to ask me any questions that you want. It's going to be an open live for you guys. I work best that way because, again, it's real person, like. Thank you, Bianca Harper. So let's see, why did you attract this person? Because like I said, when it's energy like this, it's like, well, who the hell needs it? And what the hell fucking for? And Spirit says you're a magnet of who and what. So what was the spiritual lesson that you would need to learn is, again, discipline. So this person, again, made you feel not worthy. And when a person makes you feel not worthy and they make you hurt, you channel that pain. And I feel like that's what you did. You focused your pain because you were like, I'll be damned, I'm not calling you. I'm not calling you. I'm not doing a damn thing. Because you didn't do anything for me. It's like you need to prove yourself. You need to apologize. You need to change your behavior. It's not me. I don't need to do anything. So again, this person taught you discipline. Because it's frustrating. You want to say something. You're like, I want to give me the opportunity. Please give me the opportunity. And it's like bad, but it's again clearing shame. This person makes you feel shame. And sometimes shame is just an inherited thing. Like it could be, my family wanted me to be this type of person, and I wasn't that type of person. So shame was put onto me. Or it could be you did things as a child, right? Well, like, again, sometimes children are little kleptomaniacs. And so, again, that brings bad attention. Maybe you had something that, again, drew attention to you that was shame. So not all the time is it conscious that the parent does this too. A lot of times, again, parents are coming from their best of, they love their children. So this is how a second chakra is created. When you can't find your own unique individuality, which is an unfoldment process, it's because a parent gets too much in the way because of their anxiety. So now you don't trust yourself, and now you have anxiety. So this is how the behaviorism is passed down. And so when a person has anxiety, again, they're in the future because of, again, what has happened in the past. And that is overstimulating. And that triggers that fear, that adrenal, that again, that first chakra, fight, flight, freeze. I feel like you have the same thing, but you don't come from a low consciousness, right? So one person comes from, oh, you really like it, that green screen? Oh, well, can I tell you something? The green screen, like, I forgot to take it down. It's like I'm not as present at all. Like, it's a really bad situation here. My husband has not woken up in like 48 hours. So it's a very emotional time. I don't want to talk about it. Well, so I know I didn't take the green screen down because I just sat here like staring into space for some time. So I forgot to take the green screen down, but I will take the green screen down. Thank you. Okay, I have to. Hard. The emotions. Such a bad thing. They're a good thing, but they're also a bad thing because, You don't look intelligent if you're crying all over the place, right? Right? But sensitivity, psychic sensitivity, part of that, of being an empath, is emotional. So you get the good, but you also get the bad, right? Thank you. Okay. Whew. I know, it's like I just like I said, I'm trying to stay as grounded and as present as I could be right now. That's the key. That's the key right now. So, okay. It's like I got to do the tapping, right? When I teach in my class, but I told you I would never do that tapping in public. I'm too vain. You got to tap, even though like go through the rounds. Okay, abuse. So abuse, um, could be emotional abuse. It doesn't mean that is all the time like physical abuse, but abuse when we grow up in an environment that again is more survival because our parents aren't balanced, and they could not be balanced because again their own relationship really. Then what winds up happening is we're taught to not be safe. We're actually unconsciously, there's a fear, and that's actually inherited family family karma, ancestral karma. So the way that you break that is again to integrate root chakra imbalances, right? Because abuse means not really feeling safe at one time. I know, I'm like trying not to like trying to suppress it. Believe me, it comes out. And it comes out at the wrong times. I'm walking around the block the other day talking to my friend, crying, and this lady's looking at me. I know she thought I was drunk, like crying, and then I forget. I'm like, wait a minute, I'm in public, like, people are watching. Hello. So again, abuse. Yeah, it's like follow me as your spiritual advisor. I mean, the emotionally balanced person, and really that's the key. How emotionally intelligent we are is how well we go through situations that are turbulent. And I was never one that was good with that. I was like one of those people that were the chain smoker, I used to talk to myself about what was going to happen and be nervous, like one of those people. And you get to the point where then you're like, fuck it. You don't care what happens because you're so drained. So you go from one extreme to another. And that's a second chakra imbalance. So I'm not just a head club member, I'm the president. like I always say that. That's how your wounds, right? You're a disaster. That's how you became the master. All right. And then but you always have the power to cleanse yourself. And I believe that this is why this is actually happening right now. You might be like, well, why the fuck does the same shit keep happening in my life right now? Like am I stuck in a karmic loop? Well, you may be stuck in a karmic loop of fear, and it's time to cleanse it, and it's all about like disciplining yourself towards your hobbies, your passions. It's again, you have to believe in yourself. Love, it takes a mustard seed, God makes not multiply. There's a whole point in the co-creation process and making the universe conspire to what you want is to become it. And again, every master starts as a disaster. So you can't say, oh, well, I'm not good enough. And you can't say, well, I don't have the money, because really Spirit says you start where you are, you utilize what you have. And when you do it enough and you activate that imagination, again, the kingdom of heaven's inside of you. If you can imagine it, you can create it. And that's because you become it. And so the universe conspires to your higher self, which is your truth, What is your truth? So you always know if you have shadows when you're like, okay, like what the fuck is manifesting out here? Like, why is this a bad relationship? So if we went through any type of emotional abuse, and that's usually again ancestral, it's taught down, you know, you're back to house isolation. Yeah, I know, but I know I look like a drunk person. Like, I'm back to isolation. That's it. So again, that one would be like again a root chakra imbalance. Oh, so you don't want to go out. So that's again a root chakra imbalance. And the reason why is because you identify with going out with not feeling safe, where really safety doesn't come from creating the outside, it's the inside. See, how do we get through difficult times? We get through difficult times through our choice of focus, which is why I'm on with you guys, and I'm going to be on all the time. You guys are going to be like, that fucking person again. Like, get off. And I'll be like, and now I'm on the Scorpio channel, and now I'm on the Gemini channel, but I'm going to be on all the time because I got to put my energy towards something positive and connect with different people. And it's about healing and it's about, becoming the expression. So it's again, that's how you get through difficult times. It's your choice of focus. It's like otherwise you can't get through difficult times. It's impossible. That's what that poem Footprints is about, where they say those aren't your footprints, but those are mine. That's the gods. That's the universe's footprints. That's the universe that carried you, that brought you to everything that you needed to become yourself, to be the expression of unconditional love so you could attract love. That's how you create heaven on earth. But you have to integrate your spiritual blocks. Otherwise, you stay stuck in a place of limitation, disempowerment. And the longer that you stay in that energy, the more that energy builds up in your body because your body is your mind's faithful servant. So anyone can ask me a question. Um, so you might say then again, well, so how the hell do you heal it? And the spirit says through your individuality, you have to create a new way. If you went through abuse, then there's parts of you that feel like that you don't like yourself because of shame, whether that's experiences that you did or experiences that were put onto you. Either way, and it's a collective reading, it's going to be different for everyone. However, if you were born into ancestral karma, abuse is handed down. And that's just the way that these people learned how to deal with stress. They were angry all the time and had anxiety. And so we're not our best self when we have anxiety. And so we inherit that bad temper. We inherit those behaviorisms that activate the DNA because it's your environment creates your reality. So when you're in a toxic relationship and you're creating these behaviorisms because of, a person that's gaslighting, well, this is why over time, staying in a relationship like that, you get sick. So, because again, everywhere where there's a chakra, there's an endocrination gland. So the chakra is psychological and emotional. And that is, again, what needs to be integrated, the psychological and the emotional, but it also needs to be grounded in order to be transmuted. So not just saying, I know that I had ancestral karma. I know. But it's like, do you know how it plays out? Do you know what the karmic loop is? Do you know what you need to do to integrate that karmic loop? And then if you do, then why aren't you doing it? So that's a problem, Bonnie Bell, if you don't go out. Because then you'll stay stuck in a place of fear where you're like, I'm back to house isolation. Like it went away for like a minute and that I thought it was going to go away. And then it just never did. Not really. Because you didn't integrate the spiritual lesson. And so you have to see a different version of yourself. because otherwise you just stay stuck in a place of fear and not believing. And over time, that is what creates problems. So again, if that would again take discipline, and you would have to cleanse the psychological and the emotional blocks that created shame, which again was mainly because of abuse. See, we only need to know what happened because the psychological mind is going to be like, I don't want to change, do nothing. Don't make me feel uncomfortable. That's the ego mind. The ego mind is like, everything fucking works, leave it alone. Like where, the spirit is like, no, I deserve more. I can have more. I want more. It's all about the integration part. So you get to see a different version of yourself. This is when they say you got to walk through the fire. You got to breathe through the fire. So does anyone have any questions? Otherwise, I'm going to just pull cards and jump right into another session. I thought a few people were supposed to show up. Is Shala still on? I don't know. And for all I know, that might have been. That's good, Laura. Like, you don't need to tell me anymore. Is that it? Oh, it's good stuff. Thank you. Well, it's again, like you might say, like, what was the abuse? Well, it's again, anything went wrong, anytime anything went wrong, it was your fault. And that's abuse. It's psychological abuse. And it's something that parents don't realize that they do. And it's a form of anxiety. It's not because the parent doesn't love, it's because, again, how they were brought up. So you would need to integrate that, where it's like, well, I'm feeling inadequate. Like, I feel like I'm bad. Where it's, again, you're not bad. It's like the perception is that you're bad because you're thinking it. So when you create a new you, your mind is on, again, what you're creating, not on the past. So you won't be in the past and you won't be in the future. You'll be in the moment. Your fear is created from, again, trying to protect yourself, but then never really being present. And so that's why Spirit's saying, so you would have to also train your body and mind to work together, because understand, sometimes that psychological abuse makes us detach and disassociate, meaning we know what happened, but we don't really know, we don't have an emotion. We're numb to it now. We're just numb to it. It's just what we expect. But then that means people are coming into your life and making you feel that way, which is why you don't want to go out, because you're like, well, why do I want to go out if people are going to make me feel like shit about myself? Where our Spirit's saying, you need to integrate that. It's, again, you're born into the family that, is going to teach you. And then you make your own family. It's, again, by getting in your body and creating. This is where they say that God makes a way where there is no way, just for you. And that's through your passions. Through it, that's when you find your unique individuality. So what this is saying here, it's like there's a piece of who you are that's missing, that there's a shadow, and that resides within the second chakra, which is, again, that first and second chakra really do work so close together. And so that means relationships suck. That means relationships suck. It means that money is not really good. It means that the way that you feel about you is not good. And Spirit says, that's not who I made. I don't know who that person is. That's your own version. And so, again, you find your version. Because, again, if you're so always afraid that, well, I'm going to get blamed for everything. I'm going to get blamed for everything. Then you get afraid to do anything. Like, I'm not going to do anything because I don't feel safe. And then what happens is unconsciously you create experiences that make you feel unsafe, or you feel like you attract people that make you not feel safe. And so instead you choose to be lonely. And that's again because it's a place of coming from a place of fear. So this is how, like, again, they say healing is like peeling an onion. And there's many people that take themselves out of the game in order to feel safe. That's the second chakra imbalance, meaning you're going to try and control what happens. But in that, that's not, it's again, you're not in the moment. So again, you would need to do things like yoga, breath work. You need to join my psychic soul healing coaching program just to talk about the triggers alone. Eventually we're going to get to like the healing modalities. We always get so caught up in the other stuff, but the truth of the matter is when you have severe trauma like that, where you like, I don't trust me anymore, that is going to create problems straight across the board in every area of your life. It's like, because it's almost like Russian roulette. Well, it's eventually not going to work out. And so you try and prepare unconsciously, and you don't realize that the focus is on making it not work out because you're protecting yourself from not making it work out. So the universe conspires to have those things happen. So you have to keep your focus on something that you love when you have a lot of spiritual blocks like that. Otherwise, you're not going to be able to manifest anything. And so, again, you might say, why do I have to do this? And so when you feel that way, you know that you have a block. Sorry, I need to drink. When you feel that way, like, again, aggravated, it's because you have to do it, and it's requiring you to change. And that's part of healing the root chakra, because we're not supposed to be stationary. So strength, feeling strong within yourself, comes from creating yourself, keeping focus, seeing it. And so but that's what's happening. So where then, like I said, we can see why that first chakra, every other chakra then is blocked. The second chakra is going to be relationship issues. And then if either you're trying to control the relationship or the other person is trying to control the relationship. Either you're an empath and that person is a narcissist, where you have to learn, again, the balance. And so, again, that's from the severe trauma. So then what happens is like, well, I just opt to not date anyone. And Spirit says no, because you're still going to get sick over time. Because, again, that first chakra is connected to the adrenals, and you can't live from a survival perception for long periods of time. Then your body's not digesting its food, and other imbalances wind up happening. So this is why we wind up being. I think that you didn't, and that is, you're not exactly, but now you're living safe because you're like, you went from one extreme to another, like where you're like, now I'm going to be extra careful, and you need to jump through hoops, and you need to, where that you're still not, and you're then like, and I don't really believe that it can happen. So there's still like a second chakra imbalance. So you are like doing that because the focus is on that. But then it's like, again, you're still going to attract imbalances, what Spirit is saying, because you can't control. It's not about controlling. It's about being strong within yourself in the moment, because only in the now do you get divine guidance through gut, intuition, inner knowing. Discernment comes from being in the moment, in the now. And like, once you have discernment, you're able to, again, direct your energy towards what it is that you want. So what it comes down to is just not feeling safe within yourself. That Spirit's saying there's still, and it could be, again, you've inherited that, like where it's like, well, I don't get into domestic violent relationships, but I don't get into any relationships at all. because, and then it's like, and so I like feeling cut off from people again, it would be lonely. So then Spirit says it's not about you controlling, it's about healing that second chakra. And by becoming yourself, that's how you get strong within yourself. And then your passion for life comes from that. And when you're in your passion for life, you're a magnet for a person that's on that same vibration as you. And then you have good discernment because you're in alignment with the laws of God, the laws of love, the laws of nature, and the laws of the universe, because they're all the same thing, because the universe is inside of you. And you need to be of that energy, which is just unconditional love. It's just consciousness. So by integrating that, because like I said, it's not that you're not avoiding it, but it's almost like I can't, it's like I avoid it, but now I just avoid, like I avoid too much passion in my life, too much, trying to control too much. So it's again, and it's not that it's wrong. This is what you would do. It's a normal thing of what you would do because of that trauma. No, I'm going to control it. No, I'm going to make sure that I'm not putting myself in those positions. No, I'm not going. So it's not the thing that you're wrong, but it's almost like there's a need for you to control. And that's what the problem comes into play, which again, we wouldn't even be aware of that. We wouldn't even think that that was even an issue, like I said. But you know it because, again, how you feel. You know it because your mind will say everything's fine because I'm safe. Where Spirit's saying it's again that you can't, it's not about living safe. It's about living your bliss, about living your passion. So that when you embody your passion, it's again, you automatically have balance because you're not going to give too much. So this just says then either you give too much or not enough. So you may only give like to people that are in your close vicinity, but then you're overgiving and then they're not really treating you with respect. So that just like confirms why you do what you do, which is it's not safe. Well, I mean, it's not even safe in my environment, because even though these people love me, it's like, but it's again, so it's not that it's not everybody's coming from that level of consciousness. It's what Spirit is saying. And so we have good discernment and strong within yourself. That's when you really are able to embody your passion for life, because you have to be courageous. You're going to have to go up against people and situations and experience and be able to go with the flow of life. And that only comes from being strong within yourself, riding that wave. And nobody has a freaking question. Give me a break. I'm on here all the time and no one's going to ask me anything. I want you guys to be interactive. Otherwise, I'm just going to channel. Well, actually, I've been on for 37 minutes. I don't know how long I can hold you guys' attention. Okay, great. Attachment styles. Well, always, sometimes we are here to just pay for our karma. So it doesn't. How do you know a karmic cycle has ended? Okay, so actually, I can answer both these questions with probably in one thing. So you know that a karmic cycle has ended when you have broken a karmic attachment. There's attachment styles. An attachment style is if you are someone that's very anxious and have that anxious attachment style, it means that you are abandoned. So you tend to be a little bit more needy, tend to need a little bit more emotional support. I'm one of those people, by the way. Like, I'm an empath, and so I tend to need a little extra, feel like I need a little extra. And so, especially if we have trauma, then we tend to really have that attachment style. It's again how you were brought. So if you were brought up by a parent that emotionally wasn't capable of giving you that love by expressing it, so unconsciously, like we need someone to continually confirm it. We need to feel, and the greatest fear is that we're not going to get it. And of course, we don't get it because the focus is on not getting it. So we say, how come I'm the one that emotionally gives? And it's like this person doesn't give as much back. And Spirit says, because you're looking for that person to give it back. And so you're like, yeah, well, aren't that's their job? And Spirit says, no, it's not. That person's job is again to enhance your life, but also to teach you. The attachment style is that if you're anxious, it's like you want that person to be like, to fulfill you, to make you feel safe, to make you feel emotionally safe. And then you're going to connect to an avoidant, anxious attachment style, which is someone that's like, oh, are we feeling safe now? Well, now I'm going to leave. Oh, were you just getting comfortable? Well, you know what? Now, I think we need to take a break. And then just as long as you again are saying, okay, fine, I'm done with this. I'm getting strong. It's a few months later. You've done the fucking healing. Everything's back. And now this motherfucker comes back into your life like, hey, I really missed you. And they say all the right things. They say all the right thing. And you give this person another chance. And you feel like it's a back and forth and a back and forth and a back and forth. So then what happens is you begin to believe that you can't have love. You begin to create a karmic attachment, like where it's a karmic contract, which, by the way, a lot of times mirrors what you grew up with, parents watching parents. So if you grew up in an alcoholic family and then the one parent was emotionally responsible for doing everything and showing up and always being there, and they were holding it all together, and the other person just kind of like was going along for the ride, you felt like that person that was doing everything was constantly having anxiety and not happy. So again, growing up in that environment again conditions us, again conditions with the person that grew up in that type of environment to not feel safe. So they don't feel safe in having a relationship because on some level their way of survival when they were a child was to be the healer, to be the fixer, to be so they overgive in relationships. They unconsciously feel that they need to give, which is again a second chakra imbalance, trying to control, where then saying, well, now I overgave and I got hurt, so now I'm not going to give anything. So go from one extreme to the other. So then we can see where the triggers actually play out in the karmic theme for a person that has, again, that anxious attachment style is emotionally abandoned, never showing up, never being acknowledged, never feeling again, and no one wants to be in a connection with someone that is continually doing that. And that's going to be that avoidant style. So again, it's this cat and mouse, and that's really what this twin flame relationship is. And when any karmic connection is that, but the whole thing of the twin flame relationship is that they both parties grew up in that same type of environment, but they again formed the second chakra imbalance of the opposite. But there's this spiritual connection where it's like, I know I'm supposed to be with you, I can feel you, but then why do you do everything that triggers me? Why do I not like you? Yeah, so the overgiving that's again, so you don't trust you. And as long as you don't trust you, you will always overgive. You learn how to trust yourself, and you learn how to trust yourself by finding yourself, because what leads you is the higher self. And the higher self, again, is the God part of self. And that's when they say one day heaven will be on earth. It's when we ground the character of man, which is a higher state of consciousness of unconditional love. Why? Being courageous, by being self-sacrificing sometimes, by being, to again incorporate these higher levels of consciousness, which we wouldn't really know what they look like. We wouldn't even know what unconditional love looked like. We all tend to say, well, I think my love, it looks like this. But your love might be being like, I want to be with the person all the time, 24/7, and we go everywhere together. And the other person's like, well, that's not my idea of unconditional love. My idea of unconditional love is much different. I can see that person maybe never and still love that person and know that that's really what it is. But everybody has a different perception. So the marker of what really unconditional love is no ownership, no expectation. So you're dealing with the karmic mate, and when not to trust yourself, because Bonnie, you're saying you don't trust yourself. So you need to get discernment. Discernment comes from being in your body, again, training that body and mind to work together. Detachment, disassociation happened from the trauma that you were brought up in. Root chakra imbalance. Integration of fear is to embody that, the new consciousness. And you embody the new consciousness by, again, healing yourself. So you would have to do yoga, you'd have to do breath work, you'd have to do things that are going to help you be present. Weightlifting, like why? Because it's the on the it triggers that automatic nervous system to shut off. And when we live in survival mode, that's what happens. It's like and that's what is it doing to your body. It's again your blood organs don't get enough oxygen. You just begin to feel tired, lethargic, and that's when, like I said, you have to integrate that, and that's by grounding that. That's first, number one. Number two, you have to put your energy towards something that you love, because again, there's shadows, like I said, and the shadow is shame. And you're not shame, you're not an experience. It's where you give and receive of love. It's how much you give. It's to become the expression of unconditional love. And that's by finding yourself. And that's going to be like, yes, you're going to have to learn how to trust yourself. Your third eye opens up when you're in your body and you're being directed by your gut, intuition, inner knowing. And when you're, again, giving and receiving of love, it opens up your third eye. That's how you can see. Oh, I could see how Mary Jane would want to take me home. I could see how Bob likes me. Oh, I don't like him, but I can see. Why? How is that? Because every time I go to the square dance and he wants to do square dance with me and I am just not interested. It's like you can see things. It's again, and when you're invested in your body and focused on what it is that you love, that's when in the now happens. That's when you're getting the divine guidance. It's not when you're thinking about it. When you're thinking about it, you're overstimulated. So you're getting your own way, Bonnie. Yeah, and so again, you have to shut that automatic nervous system off. Get back into the present moment. Because in the now you have divine guidance. Only God can change your mind and your heart by bringing you people, situations, and experiences that do so. But again, that's only when you're in your passion. It's only through when you're doing what you love. Because remember, it's inside your mind. So parts of you is like, I don't really know who I am. So when you don't know who you are, is when you begin to heal yourself, you're led to who you are. It's again the kingdom of heaven's inside of you. So it's again things that mean something to you. Things that mean something to you. That's what's going to light that third chakra, which is the solar plexus, which you have digestion issues. Otherwise, we wouldn't be talking about it. So again, that's lack of fire. It's like, because that's what happens when we're like, again, in survival mode. So and then you will overgive, but then you're focused on being liked and not respected, and you're gonna get a narcissist every time, because what you're telling the universe is that unconsciously, because the focus is on that. So this is why you're like, okay, well, I'm going to control it and I'm just not going to go out. And that's why you're like, well, this is why I am controlling. I am not getting myself back into a domestic violence situation like my mother did. No, but you're again, that trauma is still affecting you. And that's again still coming out within your behaviorism. So you can only control one aspect of the behaviorism that comes from the trauma. And again, a lot of times it's like, what, I have this also from that fucking trauma? It's like, you got to be kidding me. And it's like, no, it's like, because that first chakra and second chakra work together. And it's like who you perceive you are unconscious, and you don't like who you are. You're like, this is broken. And spirit says, I don't make broken stuff. You put your shirt on like a pair of pants, it's going to look fucked up. It's like there's many different realities that play it at one time. Your level of consciousness is where you're going to put your time, your energy, your focus, your money, becoming it, becoming it, becoming it, becoming it. So to the point that you're again in the moment and the focus is on that. Otherwise, it's like too much trained behavior from living for so long in survival mode. And so again, that's just inherited trauma. That's, you watched your mother go through that experience. And it was traumatizing. I'll be honest, being present is the most, yes, I know it really is uncomfortable. I know, Bonnie. That's why you have to do what you love. That's why it's about connecting with the heart chakra. It's again, otherwise we can't do it. Otherwise, if you get into a relationship, you're going to have no power, because it's about respect. And it's about respecting yourself first. Because love, you have to teach people how you want to be treated. It's not a thing that everybody wants to treat you disrespectfully. A lot of times people just treat you the way that how they are. It triggers us though. We'll be like, that person, and it's like, well, they only know from their level of consciousness. And so you might say, so what, is everybody on a lower vibrational consciousness? And spirit may say, well, your job is to bring the person to me, which is just unconditional love. And that's by becoming unconditional love, because when we love someone, we surrender. There's not a need to control. And that's again that where your second chakra imbalance is, and that's where fear is. And that's why being present is difficult, because you didn't grow up being able to be present. Because again, if your mother is not safe because she's in a domestic horrible relationship, abused relationship, then what winds up happening, and you're watching as a child, so you're watching your mom not be safe, and that's triggering, very triggering. So it's again, it's about coming from a place of survival. It's where instead of like being able to go with the flow of life, again, where it's like we have to be able to do that because the environment's ever changing. Spirit says it's about becoming strong within yourself. So we start where we are, and that's utilizing what we have. And you might need to start just 5 minutes a day. I always tell people, take a class on Udemy, wait for a flash sale. They have, sometimes they even have free classes. Just type in free breath work. Why? Because to sit there and train yourself, and even if you did 5 minutes, again, where the person's in front doing the display and you're doing it, you want to recondition, and you might be like, I don't want to do it. And then spirit says, see, that's that first chakra imbalance. You're getting angry now, aren't you, that you got to do it? Yeah, fucking ancestors, they gave me this anxiety. And spirit says, and how many years have you been out of that house? And it's like, oh, shut up. I've been out of that house about 30 years. Spirit says, it's time to integrate the spiritual lesson. And this again, so it's not about being angry. It's about doing what you love, right? Like Qigong, like, which is something that I told Omira to do. It's again, and that's able to utilize that again, not really work with energy, to be able to feel energy. If you're a highly sensitive person, you want to be able to do that. Again, this is how we're able to shape shift, right? You want to know how you can manipulate the environment. Sometimes the brain doesn't even we're not conscious, obviously, of the wound. It's so buried within the subconscious mind. But again, it's affecting our physical body. So again, your physical body, remember, it's just a shell for spirit to work through. Spirit works through you, but when you have spiritual blocks, you're stressed. You have tightness. It makes it very difficult for spirit to work through you. So you know when you have a chakra, you're like imbalance, you're like, oh, my shoulders are so tight. And it's like stress. And we always know when someone has the second chakra imbalance. And I hate to tell you, Bonnie, but I don't need to know you that you're probably a tight ass. Like you're like, oh, I need to control that. It needs to be like, I need to be, and that could be perceived as annoying, like the squeaky wheel, because it's again of anxiety, because it's again you trigger other people's anxiety, and then you're like, I don't know why people don't like me. And it's like where it's that, yeah, I told you, Bonnie Bell, I know you're a tight ass. It's like, oh, the Bonnie's coming, like, so you better, I better have everything, the ducks in a row, otherwise forget about it. We're all going to hear it, because of course she's going to show up every Tuesday night at the fucking poker game, and she's going to mention everything, how it should be, what it should be. And then when everyone finally gets comfortable, it's again something else. And so, because by then you're so overstimulated from putting on all these, demands, or you felt like, is it my imagination? Is it my imagination? Do people not like me? Do people not like me? Like where spirit says, do you like you? And you're like, not really. and spirit says, well, that's why that's happening. So it's again, get back in the moment. Get back in the present moment. Only in the now do you get divine guidance. It's again to trust, because you're not going to be able to heal this yourself. Because because it's a co-creation process. So it's, again, you have to put it in faith. And so, but that means the focus needs to be on, again, what you love what you're doing, passion. And right now, if you say, I don't have any, it should be on healing yourself. That spirit's saying, well, it's first time to heal yourself. And that means by giving yourself the tools that you need to heal yourself. It doesn't mean just sitting in the bathtub and doing affirmations. What it means is to do the breath work, to do the yoga. It's about being in an uncomfortable position and breathing through it again, and training the breath. Because when you grow up in survival mode, like, oh my God, what's going to happen? What's going to happen? We don't know what's going to happen. It's like you're not breathing. And that's when you're reactionary. Well, I didn't really mean to say that. Oh, I shouldn't have said that. I shouldn't have gotten in my own way. I lived in survival. And so Spirit's saying, that's going to keep you saying, like, I'm taking myself out of the game. It's fucking exhausting. It's exhausting. I exhaust myself. And Spirit says, I just want you to know, like, that's not the way that I made you. It's almost like you bought the IKEA version and like you said, oh, I have the pieces I didn't need. I just threw them out. And then you put the TV on the stand and the whole stand fell apart because there's no structure. There's no balance. There's no support, because you're like, well, it's just me. It's just me. It's just me. It's just me. And Spirit says, snap out of it, Alice. It's like, it's not just you, it's only in the now. Do I give you divine guidance? Spirit lives inside of you. The universe. You are the universe. What is the universe? The universe is God. That is the universe. The universe is consciousness. You are of a consciousness. That consciousness is spirit and is part of the whole. And it needs to be of the vibration of unconditional love. So when we have shadows, again, it's making ourselves feel as if there's something wrong with us, where that's what separation. Well, I feel separated. I don't feel safe. I don't feel supported. God, if there was a God, why would all this shit happen? And Spirit says, that ain't heaven down there. I just want you to know. That's that could actually be hell if it's a certain consciousness. So it's about integration, so that you realize that the kingdom of heaven's inside of you, that you have to create yourself, and that's through investing in a new you, and then also training your body and mind to work together. And then I promise you, Bonnie, life will be so much different, because you'll be living your bliss. And that's what really we're supposed to do. We're not supposed to live from survival. Most people live from survival, which is a need to control, the need they don't feel safe. And that's the problem. Thank you so much, Bonnie Bell. Um, it's like, do those things, and I promise you, and understand it takes a mustard seed. God makes that multiply, because we all need to start in a place of faith, because we're all like, I don't really believe that this is going to happen. Like, and Spirit says, that's why you need to see the action. So, because the action is kind of like the mustard seed. It's like, I'm gonna try. I'm gonna try. It's like, I'm afraid, but I'm not gonna try. And Spirit says, just start where you are. Do the breath work, connect to your body. Again, over time, who knows? Maybe you'll be a coach yourself, and you'll be up there saying, well, what got me into this situation was, and then you'll begin to talk about that inherited trauma, again, how it affected you. And maybe you'll write a book about it, and you'll inspire other people, because people have never heard, you know what? No one's ever talked about sexual abuse that was watched. Again, the person didn't have that happen, but how they watched, and how those behaviorisms, that when we put that energy in a different content, we are able to transmute that energy. Why? Because there's pain, there's emotional pain, and then we're channeling that emotional pain, and that's fire, and that's the only energy that can really transmute. Yes. So again, your higher self has already guided you. So it's again, and that's where it starts, because it'll start with that. And one thing leads to another, leads to another, leads to another. So again, sometimes it's just confirmation. And that's where Spirit's saying, you can trust yourself. You can trust yourself. And we need to see that over time. And then over time, it winds up happening. Otherwise, it doesn't happen. And then you're like, I can't. And so Spirit says, because you didn't transmute that energy. So I only say that because somebody has said, well, am I always going to have to relive the same experiences? And the truth of the matter is, yes, unless you transmute the spiritual energy, because what you resist persists. Now, you might not get it in a relationship where you're like, well, I controlled it, so I didn't get a controlling person. But now I got a person that I got to be their mother. I got to be their mother. And it doesn't matter what gender I am. I'm the caretaker. I'm the person. So it's still not an equal relationship. There's, again, it goes from one extreme to another. Now, what do you learn from being a gang stalker just because Psycho didn't like to be rejected? A gang stalker. I think, again, people that don't like to be rejected are stalkers. And as they stalk because they try to find out information without asking, they don't want to seem emotionally vulnerable. So they're not emotionally intelligent. They're coming from a place of survival. So they don't like who they are. So they don't really trust that you would like them. So they're like, well, let me do some stalking, find out as much information as I know, and maybe either I'll like not like you or I'll know what's going on in your life. And it's my way of feeling like I'm connected emotionally to you without really showing you that I care. So it's again, that's, I feel like it's a person that like doesn't like who they are. There's self-loathing there. And that's why they say that you should love, a person that's like that. But I would say love them from a distance, because if you got into a relationship with a person like that, they would want to control you. And then, of course, not value you because they don't value themselves. So again, it would be not a good relationship, obviously. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like that's what I'm saying. Like if you were connected to a person like that, that's exactly what it would be. They would again want to control your life and control your life. It would might be whatever do with you, whatever I want to do with you. It's again like your like property. And I think it's about self love to recognize what the signs are. And a lot of times, if you're loving yourself, you're having a love affair with yourself, you notice those signs. So it might mean that you're codependent. Again, let this person like came in too fast, too much, too soon, or wasn't balanced at all and the focus was on getting this person. Either way, there were signs, red flags. And so again, when the relationship's out of balance, it does go from one extreme to another, because again, the person feels like your property. They don't look at you as if you're a person, they look at you as property. And then if you walk away and you're like, listen, I don't need to deal with it or whatever, and you show this person a different side of you, one that they perceived as different, well, then again, you're expose their mask. You trigger their fear. You trigger their abandonment issues. But understand there were signs before. And so you might say, well, why did I get into a relationship like that? And Spirit would say, because where is that? We are strangers. He just a narcissist that didn't like to be rejected. Well, I think either way, it's again people that have a fear of being rejected, again, feel that they're not likable. And that says more about them than it does about you. And so if it triggered you, which obviously I feel like it did a little bit, because you're like, well, why didn't they? It's again their insecurity triggered triggered you. Well, it's because I feel like that person felt like there was a connection, and sometimes people associate that with pain. It's like, but the biggest thing to look at in that situation is say, well, why did that person come into my life? And and how did that person make me feel? Because remember, your emotions are the gateway to spiritual healing, to actually integrating that spiritual, like that thing. So you might say, well, why did that person come into my life? And I would say, well, they're imbalanced, which means that somewhere in your life you're imbalanced. And I would say the passion department. And that's again really comes in through, where what we love, investing in what we love, that's going to connect us to other people on an emotional level, because on some level there was a hopes that you were going to connect on that level. I have people so I feel like people, like I said, have behaviorisms, and the biggest thing is to understand why they come into your life and to integrate it. So if, again, you keep having the same type of energy, well, you have to look at yourself after a while. Otherwise, then, like I said, it's you're going to continue to relive that karmic theme. My father was a person that relived the same karmic theme of feeling dysfunctional. Everywhere that he was bullied, and it was like because he wasn't strong within himself. So it's again every single person, I mean, you have to, after a while, say, how am I contributing to these undesirable life experiences? And if you really want to break the karmic cycle, some people like to be stalked, and so you have to say, why am I attracting it? Um, you have to ask yourself, or you might say, no, I really hate being stalked. And I feel like I would like a person to be upfront with me, but I have people not like be upfront with me. Well, then there is that feeling of emotionally not getting what you need and still needing it to be more energy into yourself. Well, I think that it's like we don't ask for like shit experiences like consciously, like saying, oh yeah, like I want to be with someone that's going to hurt me. But it's again, if we're not coming from our truth, we're not valuing ourselves, that we're not seeing the red flags, that we might say, well, I see the red flags, but I think I can change them, or I think that I'm going to be different. It's again that there's signs, and if we are balanced within our own life, we again have discernment. The only time that we don't have discernment is when there's an imbalance in our life. So if we don't have passion in our life and we were in a fucking desert for like a year and haven't been in a relationship, the first glass of water that comes by, if it's a glass of piss, you drink it anyway. Because you'd say, I don't know, I just thought it was a glass of water. And it's like, why? How would you think that? It was a mirage. It's like there was no water. And so that's how it's your fault. It's not like, oh, well, I asked for problems. It's like, no, it's the fact that it's again, you're not coming from the right place of balance. So remember, in life, you get this spiritual test first, and then you get the lesson. And so it's about getting the lesson if you have the same thing. And then if you have the same thing, it's to ask yourself, well, whatever it is, it's like, well, you're not really being like open either. You're saying everything on whatever. So I'm just making sense out of what the spiritual issues would be from what you were writing, from how you were leading me. So again, we never even talked. I just existed at a gym. Okay, whatever. I'm glad at least I was able to give scenarios out of that bullshit. See how God works? Always divine, always divine, always working in my favor. Because again, made a lot of sense out of bullshit, because that really is true shit that happens when you're with someone that's a narcissist. I kind of feel, Chris, that you have a little bit of narcissistic energy. I'm going to sign off for now, though. Got a lot going on. Love you guys. Bye.